Hello everyone, welcome to URBONUS podcast. I'm the host Donatas URBONUS and I'm joined by Rytis Vyšniauskas. Rytis, hello.
Hello everybody.
EuroLeague season is finally over. Anadolu Efes became back-to-back EuroLeague champions. They won a close thriller against Real Madrid by only a single point and became a third team in the EuroLeague history to win it back-to-back after Maccabi Tel Aviv and Olympiacos Piraeus. And of course, today in this show, we will discuss the most intriguing things around the EuroLeague season final. But before, I just wanted to say thank you to NordVPN, our exclusive EuroLeague playoffs partner. Actually, I used it pretty frequently watching some Lithuanian basketball league games while I was in Serbia, because usually you can watch LKL games only in Lithuania and this region, and NordVPN helped me, to switch VPNs and to enjoy the semifinals series between Žalgiris and Lietkabelis. Of course, historical win for my hometown team, and this is the first time we will have the Lithuanian League finals without Žalgiris. Also, what's good about VPN services that although I was in Serbia using Lithuanian VPN, since it's the fastest VPN services in the business, we watch it smoothly, and it also guaranteed a secure web browsing, which is also important when you're traveling around different areas and you're using some different Wi-Fis. And URBONUS listeners can get an exclusive offer typing nordvpn.com/URBONUS or using the promo code URBONUS to get an exclusive NordVPN offer where its services per month basically costs the same as a cup of coffee. And also, if you don't want to miss the domestic league finals, the news about domestic league finals, the free agency starts, there are a lot of transfers already happening, you should download BasketNews app from Apple App Store or Google Play, because there you will get notifications for the most important news. You will find schedules, results with detailed box scores, everything in one place if you want to keep up to date with a major European basketball news. Yeah, that's pretty long intro.
It was really smooth.
Yeah, let's talk about basketball now. The Final Four delivered huge drama starting from the semifinals.
Yeah.
And probably that's the best thing which could happen for the fan watching the EuroLeague final, that the title was decided in the last minute of the game. But at the same time, I kind of felt so disappointed watching the last defensive plays of Real Madrid. I mean, making these fouls and putting themselves in a situation where they just didn't have any time to make the final basket. Although, let's say the last Efes possession, it took probably almost 40 seconds. I mean, with all the fouls included. What do you think about that? Because that was the main topic after the final whistle when Real Madrid lost this tie game.
Well, it's shocking, really, that a team with so much experience, a coach with so much experience, decides not to foul when the difference between the shot clock and the game clock is 3 seconds. And I don't want to hear any nonsense about if we got the rebound, we could get a good shot. No, if you get the rebound, you're shooting from half court. Because while you get the rebound, time is
running down.
Ticking, it's running down, and you're going to have like 2 seconds to make a couple of dribbles, and then somebody, a Busele or anybody else, is just shooting a Hail Mary shot. I really cannot digest how such an experienced team, okay, if your head coach at the moment somehow lost his, I don't know,
he got lost in maths, probably.
He got lost control of the game, of the maths. He cannot find the difference between 17 and 14. There are experienced players on the court, champions. They've been playing at the highest level for more than 10 years. Somebody has to say something. Guys, we're in this situation. We have to take the foul. There are odds that Micic, Larkin, or anybody could actually miss at least one free throw. We saw Larkin before missing 2 free throws.
Micic in the semifinals, 2 consecutive free throws.
I mean, and even if they do make the free throws, it's a 3-point game. There are 15 or 16 seconds on the clock. You're still in it. But no, they went for defense. Actually, Efes got a great shot. Micic, at the right time, he penetrates, kicks the ball to Shane Larkin. Shane is wide open. He just missed it. He makes it game over anyways. And of course, then Singleton even got the offensive rebound. And then The other issue is Real Madrid had 2 team fouls going into the last minute. If they used their fouls earlier, there's no problem. You avoid this situation. I mean, you're already with 14 fouls. If you need to send them to the line, you foul. If you need to defend, you defend. Because when Efes got the ball, I believe it was like 27 seconds on the clock or something like that.
Could be.
Maybe even more.
Maybe even more. As I told you, maybe something even close to 40
Yeah, and then
seconds.
there were 2 fouls in a row.
Yeah. They didn't rush. I mean, they didn't rush in fouling.
It's really shocking. And Pablo Laso, when I heard his press conference and the TV interview after the game, I looked at him and probably he realized that a mistake has been made.
Mm-hmm.
He used
he told actually
he used
in
like
the press conference.
neutral words, like saying maybe we should have fouled, but I think if we got the rebound, we could get a clear shot. But you're looking at the man and you're realizing that
he also realized
right now when everything's over, he realizes how on earth we made this decision.
The only situation where I would understand that decision was if Efes were up by 3, for example, because that free throw would, over the game.
It would kill you.
Yeah, but now,
and especially a 1-point game.
There were few situations where, for example, Yebusele, I think it was before the second foul. It was the shot clock was running down again. Larkin against Yebusele on the switch. By the way, Efes always used the Yebusele on the switch, and it was like 4 seconds remaining. And okay, Larkin kind of got the advantage, penetrating, but Yebusele didn't try to defend. He made a quick foul. And before I kind of understood that foul, just, making yourself closer to bonus situation. And then I thought that Real Madrid will try to play defense till Efes shot, and they will have around 10 seconds for their last possession. But no, Yebusele fouled, and then what happened with Hanga, it was just incredible. So, I don't know. I mean, I agree with some players, even Efes players tried to kind of find excuses for Real, and they said that in this EuroLeague, 4 or 5 seconds is enough to make a transition play and to win the game. But when you're playing for the title, and when you have less than 5 seconds, I think there's no way that you can put yourself in such a risky situation.
Well, hats off to Micic, actually. He made a great read because not every player has such cool nerves to actually keep the ball, the patience to make the right play at the right time and burn the clock. Because somebody else, player not like Micic, maybe would rush it, maybe would leave more time to Real Madrid. We saw many occasions with teams having the ball and making the shot just a little bit too early. And Micic just made a perfect read. He kept the ball for as long as possible. He penetrates, he dishes to Shane. It was the perfect play from Vasa.
By the way, Larkin's shot hit the rim with 0.1 second remaining until the shot clock runs down.
Perfection.
It's amazing.
It's perfection.
It's amazing, but it's nothing surprising because you're playing against super experienced team.
Yeah, but Larkin actually had 2 wide open spot-up shots in a row in the fourth quarter. Both of them could kill the game, and even earlier.
What's strange that Larkin went scoreless in the second half, and when I said about this drive move by Larkin against Yebusele, I mean, then you take the situation where Larkin is scoreless, something is wrong with his shot. I mean, take this risk rather than put yourself in a situation where you have to find the shot in 3 seconds.
We will probably get in more depth about the game later. I still want to raise another question from this situation. We obviously enjoy watching the Final Four drama, and we love these classic European games ending with buzzer beaters and game winners. Would you agree that rule changes would increase the drama if we had something like in the NBA where you can get a timeout while the ball is in play? Like in this case, if Real Madrid get the rebound, they take a quick timeout and they have 3 seconds, 2.5 seconds to actually inbound the ball and make a quick play for a game winner.
I kind of
Would you like to have those rules in Europe?
I agree, because then teams will have more chances to survive in these situations, because now we're watching all these players missing on purpose the second free throw, even though there's like 3 or 4 less.
On the clock.
Yeah, exactly. So I would actually think that it's a.
I love this rule in the NBA. I mean, because nobody watches basketball for tactical fouls. Nobody enjoys tactical fouls.
It's cool. It's nice. Tactical things. Mind games are
sometimes
good.
You have to do it. Sometimes even in the NBA it comes to this, but the NBA excitement is on a greater level, because if it's a 3-second difference between the game clock and the shot clock, you can trust your defense, you can trust your guys to rebound the ball and take a quick timeout. You take the quick timeout, you draw a play. Every coach in the world has a short play prepared as an inbound pass to get the shooter wide open, and it just increases drama. Like, you have those moments in the NBA, for example, like Kawhi Leonard's game winner against the Sixers. It wouldn't be possible if you couldn't take a timeout with the ball being in action. So, I would love to have this rule in Europe, actually.
Yeah, it kind of adds more breaks during the game, but of course you can reduce the timeouts, the full timeouts number, probably, just avoid all these,
Correct me if I'm wrong. Ergin Ataman didn't take a single timeout in the final.
I remember I watched the Cube during the fourth quarter, and there was a timeout column, and I was like, there's 1 for Real Madrid and 3 for Efes, and I was like, can it be real? I mean, in such a tight, close game, Efes didn't take any single timeout. Then I thought that maybe Efes already used all the timeouts. I was so confused, but it's true. It's true.
Only those commercial timeouts in the middle of the quarter, but other than that, Ergin Ataman,
that's probably underrated thing, which wasn't asked in the press conference.
It's amazing. In this season, I saw Israel Gonzalez and Alba Berlin in Kaunas playing the whole game without a single timeout. But this is the EuroLeague final. This is not just a regular season game. It's a dream special occasion.
It's not a dream team of 1992 when they didn't take a single timeout.
Right. So we can talk about the game a little bit more in depth, I guess. So first of all, let's start with the champions. And really, this shows the character of a true champion, I think, because when you are a real winner, when you are a real champion, you find ways to win, even if the game doesn't go according to plan. This was not Efes game. This was a low-scoring battle. This is not what they want to do. They want to run. They want to shoot.
You cannot imagine a better scenario to win the EuroLeague title against Efes when you keep them under 60 points. It's just incredible. I don't even know if anybody won the EuroLeague scoring less than 60 points in the history.
I don't think so. We should check in modern-day basketball, even in Europe, a game ending 58-57 is crazy. And we've been talking throughout the whole season about that third guy. There's Shane, there's Vasa. Who's going to be the third guy? In the semifinal, it was Elijah Bryant. In this game, all of a sudden, Tibor Pleiss. Let's remember last year they had Sertac Shanli. He was great spreading the floor with those pick and pops and shooting the ball. He was their main center. And Tibor Pleiss last season was their third option at center position. All of a sudden in this game, it started really bad for Tibor because he got fouls against Tavares. He just couldn't stand against Tavares. Eddie Tavares in the first quarter was a monster. And then Dunstan got in a foul trouble. Pleiss just cannot play defense. And
they just out-rebounded. They just out-physicaled them. If you remember, they got 7 offensive rebounds.
I would say.
Yeah, that's a right point. 7 offensive rebounds in the first 7 minutes because they put this huge lineup. Just as we predicted, they put Abalde, I think it was Hanga, who else? Yabusele, Dek, and Tavares. I think that was their lineup. I mean, that's what we predicted.
It's not normal. The size of this lineup is...
But if you want to beat Efes, I mean, they had to be tough, physical, and try to beat them by size.
Yeah, we'll get to Real Madrid later on when they had the game plan. It was a perfect game plan in my opinion, but we'll get to that later. Let's just still stay a little bit with Efes and Tibor Pleiss in particular, because in the second half, he looked so calm. It's not like he only got layups and dunks. He hit some mid-range shots. He hit a mid-range shot with the clock running out, and he still made a pump fake. Hanga, I believe, jumped, and he just hit it so easily, effortless. And Vasa Micic, I don't know how many assists did he have in this game, like 3 or 4. As the whole unit got like only
7, I think. Yeah,
7
the
assists,
whole team
right?
made 7, and
But the
Micic
greatness
too.
of Vasa Micic is that he reads the game perfectly. He doesn't get the assist, but he draws Tavares or Poirier to him, and he's just throwing the ball somewhere to the board or to the rim because he knows that Tibor is there. He's gonna catch it. He's gonna tip it. We're gonna get 2 points. It's really
that's what he did. He made some crucial
genius
tips.
in Vasa Micic. It's not an assist, but you could say he assisted Tibor Pleiss for
and it tells a lot
for
about
those
the ego
points.
of the player. I mean, you don't want
He
to
doesn't
ruin
care about
your
his
stat
stats,
sheet
but
about.
he does.
Yeah, of course.
You're playing the EuroLeague final.
Exactly.
Who cares about shooting percentages, the numbers? You're playing to be the champion. So Tibor Pleiss all of a sudden became the third guy because in the first half they did not have the third guy. They were down. They were down by 5 after 2 quarters, and things could have been even worse for Efes. So this is the part where we should talk about Real Madrid.
Just a second. I will stop you for a second. Tibor Pleiss scored 17 second half points, which is 17 of 29. He scored 7 of 11 Efes field goals in the second half, 10 points in the fourth quarter. And as you said, what I liked the most, that probably you remember that huge block by Vincent Poirier. It was probably the block of the Final Four where Tibor Pleiss was going for a dunk.
Oh, yeah.
And Poirier just stopped it at the rim, and Tibor still tried to push the ball in, but Poirier made the block. And after these plays, usually you can get down. Then Pleiss made this mid-range, then 2 putbacks, and he really killed the game when Efes just couldn't score.
Yeah, Tibor was, as he said, he was so concentrated on the game, he didn't even realize we were playing with fans. Like last year, they were playing in an empty gym, and after the game, he said like, "Wow, only now I'm starting to realize that the arena is full of people because I was so focused."
Yeah, and
I couldn't feel anything.
He finished the game with 19 points on 8 of 10 field goal shooting, 7 rebounds, and 24 performance index rating, and he was actually the most efficient player on the court. So the huge X factor and huge reason for Efes,
and just a great guy.
Exactly. Yeah. And if you will go further with Real, just 2 more guys. Chris Singleton making this amazing offensive rebound.
Yeah.
He was surrounded by 3 or 4 Real Madrid players. It was less than 1 minute to play. Shane Larkin missed one of his open corner threes. Super important offensive rebound, and there were other, let's say, hustle plays by Chris Singleton. And I remember I was questioning his effort all year long, but when the most important games came, when it mattered, Chris Singleton showed up again. I would say, and he was dunking, he was stealing balls, he was getting offensive rebounds, just like Brian Dunstan. He played like 20 seconds in the fourth quarter, and he made the block with less than 1 minute remaining. So we were talking about this third guy, and we saw few guys stepping in. Of course, mostly it was by Tibor Pleiss, but it was amazing win for whole Efes crew, because I was shocked that only 6 players scored for Efes in the entire Final Four. How can you win the EuroLeague having only 6 players score? And I just thought that Efes probably, for sure, it was the toughest EuroLeague title.
And for example, a scorer like Ronnie Bobois didn't get a bucket.
Nope.
Of course, after the injury, he was not really feeling very well. You could see it. But
Mormon, he played a lot of minutes in both games. He was scoreless. James Anderson, scoreless. I mean, it's just incredible.
And I actually wanted to give a shout out to James Anderson. He doesn't get recognized at all, probably. He's just looked at as a role player with some defensive duties. And in our preview of the final, we were talking about Real Madrid, how they're going to go with size. And I thought that Gabi Deck is the biggest advantage they have. And I was expecting a lot of post-ups. I was expecting Gabi Deck to actually dominate maybe in some situations because he has the size advantage in the third position. And he had an amazing regular season performance against Anadolu Efes. But James Anderson in the first half weathered the storm. Gabi Deck just couldn't do much. In the second half, James Anderson didn't really play many minutes because Ataman wanted to have more offense, more options offensively, so he trusted Elijah Bryant more. But James Anderson, in the beginning, he was in the starting lineup. He actually weathered the storm. A couple of times, Deck tried to post him. He couldn't do it. James Anderson is a tough guy. And yeah, Deck was a non-factor. Other than that one spot-up shot he made,
in the fourth quarter.
He wasn't doing very well.
Yeah, he went 0 for 3 from the two-point field goal shooting.
Didn't he have many
scored only
opportunities,
5
actually?
points, yeah.
Okay, so Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Perfect game
Real
plan.
Madrid.
Everything went their way. They wanted the game to be like this. They wanted the game to be ugly, physical, low scoring, no fast break points, no easy points, no transition freeze for Anadolu Efes, playing extremely big lineups. Everything was going their way. Efes,
except from one thing.
Efes, I mean, defensively, they were packing the paint, and there were so many open looks for Real Madrid. And when you remember the semifinal, Yabusele hits 4 out of 6 from 3-point range. In this game, he can't get a bucket.
Yeah.
He misses everything, wide open. Fabi Coser misses everything, wide open. Hanga spot-up shots. Abalde, there was a sequence when Abalde got 2 wide open looks on one possession, and both of them went like this, out of the rim. It's crazy, really. They had many spot-up shots, and with 3 or 4 extra shots going in, they could break the game. There was a moment when they were up by 5, I believe, and they had wide open looks. They missed them both, and Efes responded, and they cut the deficit to 2. It could have been an 8-point game. Instead, you have a 2-point game. So Real Madrid, they weren't making any shots, even though they were getting looks.
Exactly.
And my issue with this is Pablo Laso trusted Anthony Randolph, arguably their best spot-up shooter right now. Randolph made 2 3-pointers, 2 clear open looks in the first half.
Yeah.
Why not try him in the second half? Why not give him a couple of opportunities? I know that defensively is hard for him after all his injuries. He lost his quickness and everything, but he's your best spot-up shooter.
And you're struggling with
These guys are missing
shooting.
shots. I don't understand why Anthony Randolph wasn't given an opportunity in the second half of the game.
6 points in 7 minutes when your team is going for 6 of 33 beyond the arc. And as you mentioned, Yabusele 0 from 6, Abalde 0 from 5, Coser 0 from 5. Many good looks. You could say that Real kind of deserved this win. They were just not making shots, but you have a good point. I mean, there was some
I cannot say
adjustments.
that a team that makes such a bad read in the end deserves anything. They deserve to lose the game because of this only.
Because of this, but you cannot, one play cannot determine
the game plan
winner,
was,
let's say.
I'm sorry, the game plan was great.
Everything was set
went
for
their way.
winning the game. Yeah.
The defense, the concentration defensively, the focus, you got what you wanted.
And you
were
cannot
there.
say that,
Efes is a better team talent-wise. It's clear. Real Madrid don't have a true point guard. They're depending on Sergio Llull to play 2 games in 48 hours. They're depending on Abalde to make some plays. They don't have a point guard. Thomas Hurtel wasn't playing. Williams Goss was on.
And you cannot say that they were out of gas or they were unexperienced. I mean, I see that only Yabusele hit more than 30 minutes in the semifinals. I mean, they're probably the most experienced team in the whole EuroLeague. So it's so hard to explain them just not making any shots.
I mean, after this final, you just want to praise Pablo Laso and Real Madrid for choosing the tactics right, the strategy, the game plan, the players for their hustle, the fighting spirit and everything. But then you want to praise Anadolu Efes because they found a way in a difficult game where things were not going the way they wanted. They just found a way to win it somehow. They knew it's not a series, best of 5 series where you lose a game and then you're looking for solutions. You need to find solutions right here, right now. And the players did it. Ataman just trusted his players. The fact that he didn't take any timeouts just shows how much trust he has in them, how much he trusts Vasa Micic to make decisions for himself. And I think Vasa even said something like, I don't really have a game plan. I'm just going with what I feel is best at the moment. Because when you have a strict game plan, you're easy to read. But for Real Madrid, when you don't have point guards and creators, you must follow the plan because there's nobody who can improvise on the court.
Yeah, having all these problems that Efes had during the regular season, playing without Kruno Simon, basically playing without Rodrigo Bobois, playing with age roster, keeping them, scoring less than 60 points in the final, I cannot imagine more vulnerable Efes team that Real Madrid or anybody else in the Final Four could face.
But such fine margins, really. The Final Four was so great. We see the champions winning the semi-final by a buzzer beater. They're winning the final by a single point in a very low-scoring game where anything could happen in the end, and it was just complete madness in the end when Real Madrid didn't take the foul. So the margins are so slim. I mean, but still, it shows that Efes, the players like Vasa Micic, they're living for these moments. They want to play games like this. I don't know if you ask Vasa if he would answer like this, but I believe that deep down he would prefer to have a final that goes to the wire and he has the ball in his hands and he can decide a game rather than winning it by 30.
Probably, of course,
because you
He's
get
a true
so much
basketball lover,
so much joy from winning games like this.
Exactly, he enjoys these tough moments. I just have one question. I mean, we're talking about this Efes greatness. This Efes greatness started from them playing really great. It was super skilled, talented team. The chemistry both on and off the court was just amazing. That was a great fit since they kind of came together in 2018. And now making 3 straight EuroLeague finals, winning
could have been
back-to-back.
Could have been
easily 4. Could have been 4. Where do you rank them in the conversation of greatest EuroLeague teams of all time? Let's say since modern EuroLeague history, which is since 2000s.
I rank them very highly. I rank them among teams like Panathinaikos, Maccabi, back-to-back champions, Olympiacos. They're in the same discussion. However, if you ask my opinion, to me, still the greatest modern EuroLeague team that I enjoyed the most was Maccabi.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about, obviously, Pini Gershon, Sharas, Anthony Parker, Masio Baston, and Nikola Vucic. To me, it was the most entertaining team. At the time, the most consistent team. Okay, they had some luck with Derek Sharp killing Žalgiris. We wouldn't talk about their back-to-back titles if not for this. But again, Efes also needed some moments like this in the semifinal, in the final as well. Sometimes you need some luck. But that Maccabi team, I was a teenager, like 15 years old. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed watching their game so much. I actually went to the court to try and make some plays similar to Shara, similar to Anthony Parker. I couldn't jump as high as Anthony Parker, obviously, but they were idols to me.
Yeah, I remember when Sharp made this 3-pointer, and of course Maccabi got a lot of, let's say, enemies in Lithuania.
Oh, I was hurt, obviously. I was hurt.
Okay, but I was actually cheering for them in the Final Four just because of the joy they delivered for all the basketball fans. And as you mentioned, there were these great teams, Panathinaikos, Fenerbahce, Olympiacos, even CSKA, they had a great stretch. I love these tacticians. I really like what they do. I like these projects, these ideas. But when there's conversation about the greatest of all time, you always think about these teams that gives you the most joy. And I have to say that this Efes team actually really reminds me of Maccabi. I still put Maccabi on the top. Augustas Šuliauskas, our colleague, made a great video on our BasketNews.com YouTube channel, also calling Maccabi the greatest EuroLeague team of modern EuroLeague history. But you can see so many similarities between these
Ataman
teams.
And Pini Gershon.
Pini Gershon,
the coaching
most
style
coaches.
is kind of similar. You're just trusting your players. As a coach, you're trying to do everything for your players to be their best versions on the court. Exactly. Sometimes in the media, in the press room, Pini Gershon, just like Ergin Ataman, they like to draw the attention to themselves.
Of course, yeah.
They want to be in the center of attention. They enjoy the press conferences and the TV interviews. They're kind of similar because you look at Pini Gershon and you look at Ergin Ataman right now more as managers than just coaches. They're managers. They're building teams
right now.
They're not just coaching
in today's
teams.
Basketball, I remember I was actually, when I was flying back home, I was watching this David Letterman interview with Kevin Durant, and he was also asked something about coaches, maybe what makes the great coach or something like that. And he also said that now coaching is is everything about managing personalities. It's not about tactics when you play so many games, 80, 90, 100 games, even here in Europe. It's all about managing personalities, probably managing the workload and just building a team together, let's say.
Yeah.
And of course, you have to have talent to trust that talent on the court. And that's what these coaches did. And I completely agree that if you put Coach Jasikevičius, maybe even Coach Obradović, or anybody else, if you put under the helm of this team, we're not sure if that team ended up winning all these titles.
Laso Micic played for Šaras.
Yeah. Of course, okay, it's a different conversation. There was his beginnings coming from Tofaš, going to Žalgiris. He needed that platform, let's say, to adjust to the EuroLeague level, to get some lessons from Šaras, and then go to shine on the, let's say, highest
stage. Show
stage.
his true talents, right?
Yeah.
The only problem to me with this Anadolu Efes team, and maybe Turkish people, Efes fans will hate me for saying this. I mean, on our last show, I was surprised there were so many comments about us being like Olympiacos fans or something.
I didn't get it.
I don't know, man. I really couldn't care less which Greek, Turkish, or Spanish team wins it. I don't really care. The only teams I support in EuroLeague, and I will make it plain and simple, Žalgiris and whatever team Mike James is on. Other than that, I don't care. So,
me neither.
So listen.
The funniest thing is that probably not many, and probably I shouldn't even react on this podcast for some anonymous Twitter accounts, but they think that I'm against Barcelona when there are 6 Lithuanians on that team. So now these comments are just ridiculous and making us smile every time.
About Barca, I'm actually not
rooting not a fan of the game.
I'm not rooting
playing
for them because of Lithuanian people. I appreciate Lithuanians being there and doing a great job. I love Rokas Jokubaitis. I appreciate Coach Šaras and everybody else on that staff, but I'm not rooting for them. If I don't really like them as a team, why should I be a fan because there are Lithuanians on the roster? It doesn't work like this for me. So still, getting back to my point, my problem with this Anadolu Efes team, they are setting a really bad example for everybody else in the league.
Exactly. That's why I'm mad that
they
won
are
the
so
league.
talented, and they're just showing that the regular season is a joke.
Isn't it like it the same in the NBA? No?
A little bit, but okay, now Boston beat Milwaukee and everybody's saying, Milwaukee were choosing their opponents. They didn't want to face Brooklyn, so they went for the lower seed, and they didn't have the home court advantage in Game 7 when it mattered against Boston. The game was in TD Garden, and the Boston Celtics won it. So, yeah, the regular season, 82 games in the NBA, it is like that. I mean, you cannot treat every game like a final. In EuroLeague, the slogan is, every game matters.
No, it doesn't anymore.
Anadolu Efes, they won the league from the 6th seed. If the Russian teams were there, who knows? Maybe they would finish
that's
in the
important
8th
point, actually.
seed.
Yeah.
They were not playing good basketball in the regular season, and they're just showing a really bad example to everybody else. If you have enough talent and quality, fuck the regular season.
Yeah, just come for
Get
the playoffs.
the 7th seed or the 6th seed, whatever. You're good enough. You'll beat those guys when it matters the most. I mean, you cannot compare them now to the Maccabi team because the format was different. Maccabi had to go through the group stage, the top 16, and then the playoffs. Not the playoffs, just after the top 16, go straight to the Final Four. Yeah. So it was really different. But this Anadolu Efes team, especially this season, last year they started slow, but there were, let's say, issues because they did not have good preparations for the season because of COVID. So they only started playing in the second part of the regular season, but they ended up getting the 4th seed, I believe, which is normal. Mm-hmm. They had a home court advantage. They beat Madrid in best of 5. This season, they never really started playing in the regular season.
We thought that they started playing there, as soon as we thought they were
getting wins at home against teams like Pau, Zvezda by buzzer beaters from Adrian Moorman. They were getting crushed in Monaco. They were losing games where you don't expect them to lose. I mean, they made the regular season a joke, but they have this quality in them, and they won it in the end. And you're still agreeing that they're the best team, but this really sets a bad example. Like Barca, they're always grinding for everything. They won the regular season 2 years in a row. It's very important to Šaras to finish on top in the ACB, in the EuroLeague. They're working for this. But then they go to the Final Four, they lose everything. They're like showing the example, like, really, every game matters, guys. Until we clinch the first seed, every game matters. Not to Efes. They don't care about the first seed, second seed, or whatever.
I'm actually thinking that it's way easier to say when to do, because, for example, half of these biggest budget teams, watching, for example, starting from GMs or owners, watching their team being barely a top 8 team during the 3/4 of the regular season, they could easily change the coach. They could easily make some roster moves. There's not enough patience. Then you would have some coaches who would just lose the locker room, who would just lose their minds and just start doing some crazy stuff, let's say in his mind, to put this team all together. I mean, this exactly what is unique about this Efes team, that they never panicked. They had a coach who still made all these crazy predictions about winning the EuroLeague.
Not so crazy though. Not so crazy when you're thinking about it.
Now you're looking back at that game at Palau when he was doing his fist, I won the cup. I mean, for most of the fans, he looked like clown, because Efes, they were going through a very tough stretch. They were losing badly. They didn't remind this championship team. So to have balls, do things like that, to provoke the fans, to make these statements later. I mean, there were a lot of different parts which made this team unique. And, it's not let's say it's kind of bad example, but it's not what you can easily, let's say, follow, because there are so many different things, and it's just amazing, really. But the best part was, I feel bad because this team showed that the regular season doesn't matter at all. But at the same time, it was such a joy to watch all these guys celebrating this title. And I remember, Shane Larkin was so just honestly happy. And he said this funny thing that for one second I thought that he was listening to our podcast, because when he started his...
he called out the media.
Yeah, when he started his idea about, since we started the season 1-5, you start questioning what's wrong, is Efes in trouble, Shane Larkin did this, Laso Micic that, and I was like, okay, we've actually, had all these questions during our podcasts, but then, he said that he coming from America, not knowing anything about Europe, coming here, winning all these titles, joining this group of guys, and now being so happy that, I don't believe what he said, but he said that he would choose this when some max contract in the NBA. I just saw a really, really happy guy next to other really good group of guys, and I got a feeling like it was a last dance for this team. But at the same time,
if they're adding guys like Will Clyburn all of a sudden, then
let's dance for this group of guys.
They will start dancing.
Yeah, just with
right
different
away,
dancers.
Straight away next season. Yeah, they're going to be competing for the title again.
But yeah, coming back to our question, if it's the greatest team of all time, I don't know. It's very hard to measure, but I put them next to Maccabi Tel Aviv because I just see too many similarities, and the joy, the entertainment they delivered, they provided for us. It was just something
Coach
remarkable.
Ataman gives you endless entertainment, and
the most iconic coach.
We had Coach Popovic in the building, and this was the rare case when Coach Popovic is not necessarily the most charismatic coach in the building, because what Ataman has been doing for the last few years, it's really unique. We never had this sort of communication in Europe. Usually coaches in their press conferences and TV interviews, they just go by the script. Sometimes they face dumb questions from the media, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And they sometimes don't really want to talk, they don't want to answer questions, or they just answer the same way every week. Ataman, he just needs the mic. He doesn't even need any questions. Just given the mic, he can go for 10 minutes. He congratulated all the Turkish people, first of all, in his own native language.
Yeah. He was heavily booed by Olympiacos fans, and then later in the press conference, he really appreciates Olympiacos fans making this atmosphere incredible for the final game.
Popovic, my good friend Popovic, maybe he'll find me a spot in the NBA.
Yeah, and then I asked him if it's the last dance. He said, who knows, maybe I have a 1 year contract, but maybe somebody will call me for the NBA.
Yeah.
Every question, every topic you deliver, he will say something crazy.
Yeah, so probably that's a solid wrap up of the season. Like
One last conversation for the greatest of all time: Laso, Micic, and Shane Larkin. Okay, we might raise the question if it's the best duo in the EuroLeague, but at least let's start with if it's the best backcourt we had in the modern EuroLeague history. What do you think?
oof, that's a hard question.
I tried to go through all these teams, and it was really hard because when you, for example, a lot of Greek fans, they will put Diamantidis and Spanoulis, but at the same time, Spanoulis wasn't at his peak. Now we're thinking that this was like a GOAT backcourt just because of names and legends, we will remember them for. But Spanoulis was still not playing the way he played in Olympiacos. And when you look at numbers, at titles, at the way they play, once again, I have to go back to Maccabi and Šarūnas Jasikevičius and Anthony Parker. They were dominant. They were dominating for Maccabi team. They were dominating in the EuroLeague. They were spectacular, talented, skilled players. Kind of reminds me a bit of Micic and Larkin. And they average also something like about 16 points per game, 15, 19. But what was interesting that Maccabi, they were averaging 92. And now, for example, Efes, they were averaging 82. And we see kind of the same numbers for Micic and Larkin, but the importance is even bigger. And I really don't know. I think that I'm not sure about the greatest duo because it also includes bigs, but they for sure should be ranked at least in top 3.
Backcourt
or maybe
duo, to me,
they should be the best backcourt.
To me, they're the best.
Yeah.
As much as you want to talk about nostalgia and Jasikevičius, come on. Vasa Micic has a lot more skill. He's a baller. Jasikevičius has a lot of IQ and was the smartest player on the court every single time he stepped on it. Micic is more skilled.
I would say Micic is a better scorer and Šaras is a better creator, let's say.
I don't think that Micic is... He's just as good as a creator as he is as a scorer. It's just that creating is different when you're penetrating the paint. It's the modern day basketball. You're facing switch all defense regularly. It's about how you can attack the switch,
is way better
how
than it
you
was
can
before.
play in ISO. Do you imagine Jasikevičius playing ISO basketball? It's all about the pick and roll. It's always about the pick and roll with Boston, with Vučić or somebody else. And the national team, again, you're surrounded by amazing players. For Vasa and Shane, they're ISO players. They're so skilled. Shane Larkin is so fast. Sometimes when they get their game going, they are unstoppable. And to me, actually, they were at their best, both of them, in the season that didn't even finish. Shane Larkin, at that time, there was no question about who's the best player in the league. You were not even talking about Mirotic or anybody. It was Larkin's league. After that, last season and this season, he wasn't that consistent. He was still great, and Vasa Micic is leading this team. To me, they're the best backcourt duo I think I've ever seen in the EuroLeague. And just because sometimes it's unfair comparing what's happening right now and what happened 15 or 20 years ago, the skill set of these modern day players is different.
Yeah.
It's very... I mean,
I agree.
you're talking about Diamantidis, for example. Best defensive player in modern EuroLeague. Is he more skilled than Vasa? Of course not.
No.
But he's smart, strong, tough, and he can defend multiple positions. That makes him great, and he's a great leader at the same time. But if you're talking about skills, these guys we have right now in the league, not only Micic and Larkin, Mike James... Come on.
Yeah, and defensive presence now they're facing compared to the defense it was before.
It was always different. I mean, back in the days, you would always cover, your pick and roll coverage would always be drop because you have a slower center. And right now, Hassan Martin, Kyle Hines, all these guys, Otello Hunter, they're capable of switching. They're throwing so much size at you. This Real Madrid team is ridiculous. You're going against Abalde, then there's a switch. All of a sudden, you're against Yabusele. Then you see Yabusele guarding Vasa Micic from the... I forgot the word.
From the elbow?
No, from the line.
Baseline?
Yeah,
Okay.
from the baseline, from one side to the other. Yabusele with his big body, he's just guarding Vasa Micic, and you have to make a decision somehow to beat him. So really, it's these days you have to be capable of driving to the left, to the right, handling the ball, dribbling, shooting off the dribble, shooting off the screen. When you're penetrating, you have to find open teammates in the corners, left to right. This is what the players do right now. You wouldn't see anything like this in 2003, for example.
You convinced me, really. You convinced me. I also put them as the best backcourt for sure. Talking about Efes future shortly, there are a few things to mention. I remember that during the playoffs, there was still a feeling, or at least a lot of thoughts inside the market, that Efes, they were about to reduce the budget because they were facing a massive rebuild. Let's say a lot of players on expiring contracts, a lot of expensive players. But now I heard that winning the EuroLeague title, and of course when they saw that there is a possibility to win it, there was an idea that if we are becoming champions, we cannot raise the bar so low as we kind of thought about. And signing Will Clyburn, which was reported by our colleagues in
it's not official yet.
It's not official, but it's kind of done. Signing Will Clyburn shows that Efes has no desire to lower their bar.
It was their weakest position, the small forward, the third spot.
And it kind of changes the way this team was built. I mean, they never had a very strong, individually strong small forward. Kruno Simon was great, but he was more of a, let's say, playmaker, passer, third player, third option on the court. Clyburn is different. He can dominate the game by himself from the small forward position. And I will try to go through the list of players on expiring contracts on the, let's say, through the court of the players. And let's start with Vasa Micic. At least for now, there's a feeling that he's leaning more towards NBA and staying in Efes, but it's not about OKC. There's no place for Micic in OKC, or at least the place where Micic would be happy about, or the role he thinks about playing NBA. So Miško Raznatovic, his agent, is working for making a trade for him. So if Micic is going to the NBA, it's probably the most likely that there's some other team which will trade for him.
You know where I would love to see him?
Yeah, okay.
Denver.
That's a good point, actually.
With Jokic. I know they have Jamal Murray. Maybe they would need to make some roster changes for Vasa to be happy, because he doesn't want to be there and take the role of Facu Campazzo, for example. No. He wants to be an important player. But having Jokic and Micic on the same team in Denver, it would be so spectacular.
I can already see Miško Raznatovic is making another Instagram post because Jokic and Micic are
that
his
would be
kids.
Great. I'm not sure if it's possible.
From Mega to Denver with NBA MVP and with the EuroLeague MVP. Wow, that would be a crazy storyline which Miško could build for. Shane Larkin, from what I hear and what was also reported on Eurohoops, there's a chance that he will stay, which is already a huge win for Efes if it makes it happen. By the way, if Micic is leaving, there are rumors that Tomasz Satoransky could join, and personally, I think that is probably one of the best, if not the best, potential replacement for Micic next to Larkin.
Again, you're getting a tall point guard. Tomasz Satoransky is a very good defender. He's a very good playmaker, a very smart player. He improved his jump shot during his years in the NBA. He's shooting a lot better than he was when he played for Barca, for example. We saw him on the Czech Republic national team as a true leader when he played with Jan Vesely, or even without Jan Vesely in the World Cup, where they really had a great run. So really, if they can replace Vasa with Satoransky,
if Clyburn is coming,
they are sorted, really. And all the other signings they will make, they're just additions to already a very talented roster. I mean, you will have to obviously replace some of the bigs because they are aging veterans. Some of them, I believe, will leave the team.
Yeah, for example, Brian Dunstan, it seems like that he is leaving. Mormon is more like a 50-50. Although there is a chance that he might stay. Plyce, there's a, let's say...
I would keep him as a different option.
For sure, especially what he did, not just in the Final Four, but in the playoffs as well. I mean, you have to keep him as a huge, shooting big. I mean, he's still valuable in this league.
Yeah.
Then there's Chris Singleton, and it's also like 50-50, although there is a feeling that he was leaving. James Anderson, Kruno Simon, they're leaving for sure. And if we are talking about important adjustments, just not just adding role players, but I think that the frontline signings will be important. And from what I heard, that they really liked Brandon Davis, but it seems like he's leaning towards joining Milan rather than Efes. So, I mean, adding Davis, I'm not so sure if it's connected with Clyburn, because for sure they had to pay for Clyburn. So if you pay Clyburn, maybe you don't have enough money to pay Davis. But it would be crazy. I also heard that Josh Nebo, they're showing strong interest in Josh Nebo, and I would say that it's probably replacement for Brian Dunstan.
Yeah.
I mean, for what he's providing on the court.
There will be some options in the market. Motley, John Brown.
Yeah.
You can go for these players.
I mean, it's not like trying to sign guards. It's very difficult.
Very
market
difficult
for
to
guards.
find a point guard.
Satoransky is a great out of the box.
I was
decision.
always thinking that if Shane Larkin leaves, they could go for Mike James. But if Shane Larkin stays, then there's no question. Satoransky and Larkin, you're sorted. These players can lead the way.
Yeah, but I just hope that Micic will stay, Larkin will stay.
No, I want to see Micic in NBA. I'm sorry.
Maybe this group will go for a three-peat.
I'm so sorry. As a basketball fan, I will have so many regrets if Vasa Micic doesn't go to the NBA. He's at his peak right now, and I don't want to see him going to the NBA, for example, when he's 32 years old, grabbing some one-year contract just to try himself. No, this is the right time. I actually thought last year, after winning the EuroLeague, he should go there. Maybe there were no good options at the moment, but I want to see Vasa Micic on the NBA. I think he can be successful there. I think he has some similarities to Luka Doncic in his game. Not at the same level, of course. Not an all-star level, maybe, but he can be great, because NBA teams always prefer tall point guards who can be good on defense as well as leading the team, and he's just a great ball handler. He has this step back shot. He's hitting shots quite
he's
consistently.
Strong guard as well.
I mean, it makes no sense if Vasa doesn't go to the NBA. Up to this day, I'm still regretting that Bodiroga never played in the NBA. I think he could have been great at that time. So I don't want to have same regrets with Vasa.
You know, I'm the EuroLeague fan first and foremost, and as a EuroLeague fan, I want the best players to stay in Europe, and I want to keep our stars, best players. So losing Vasa Micic, I remember we were talking about this last year. Can you imagine EuroLeague without Vasa Micic right now this year? I mean, it would be a huge loss. So of course, if Satoransky is coming, it's a different conversation. There are even rumors about Ricky Rubio potentially coming back to Europe. So if there's that kind of transfer, okay, maybe. And I agree. I would like to see if Vasa could succeed on the NBA level. But if we are not having these great players coming to Europe from the NBA, then no, I want to keep Vasa. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm an NBA guy. The NBA playoffs is the pinnacle of basketball to me. The European basketball is, I would say, it's a mess, because now we're talking about the EuroLeague like it's finished and the season is finished. No, the domestic league playoffs are there. Efes still have to face Fenerbahce. Barca still have to face challenges in the Spanish league. So does Real Madrid. I would love to have the basketball season ending with the EuroLeague final. It would make sense. What's happening right now doesn't make any sense. Just like the situation we have in Lithuania. Žalgiris messed up, right? They're gonna finish in the third place, or
that's
even
a soft way to say that they're messed up. Yeah.
It's a disaster what happened to them. Next season they're starting in the EuroLeague, and again they will have the budget bigger than the whole league, the Lithuanian league. So, I mean these domestic league playoffs right now after EuroLeague is finished. My God, why do we have to watch this suffer? I mean, the players are champions. Let them celebrate. Those who lost, let them rebuild, rethink everything. No, this week they're already playing.
And the worst part is that it's not so meaningless. I mean, if you remember, Milan, they were swept by Virtus. And, you know, in Italy, it was a big thing, you know, having Milan swept. Now we have this Barca team. And if they're not winning ACB, I don't know, man. I don't know how they're going to react to this season.
No, they need to win it. I get it. They need to win it.
So that's the worst part, that although it kind of feels meaningless for a lot of people, it means job as well. So it's tough. It's
just my fresh feelings from what's happening in
basketball fan
Lithuania.
Standpoint. Yeah.
From what's happening in Lithuania, it's so unfair. Žalgiris can finish in the last place.
That's another
doesn't
huge
really
topic.
matter.
Yeah.
They're still in the EuroLeague, so who cares?
Do we have anything to say about Real Madrid's future? I think that their future moves are pretty clear, and we were talking about them all year long.
We know what they need.
Adding backcourt stars, fresh legs, younger players. Yeah. Because once again, we ended up watching Sergio Llull trying to win it all for Real Madrid at the age of 34, which actually, I mean, Llull was great in this Final Four, but still they were lacking of. I mean,
in the semifinal, he was great. In the final,
I mean,
he did what he could. He did what he could.
Exactly, and it's not his fault that he was put in a position where he had to win this title for Real Madrid by his decisive shots, although he made some important shots. But this, you know, shooting tragedy of Real Madrid and not winning the title when you keep your opponents under 60 points just shows that, man, you need somebody else. I love Kazer as a backup, but you need talent, you need more skill.
But one thing is clear, that Pablo Laso just silenced all the doubters, all the people that said he's done.
He's not done.
He led this team to the EuroLeague final, and he was one shot away from winning it. So you have to go with Pablo Laso as long as you can. You have to trust him. And yeah, you just need to sign some fresh players. Maybe say goodbye to some of the players already, because some of them, I'm not saying they've been there too long, but you're just seeing they're not as effective as they once were. And
the game is changing. I mean, it's requiring way more skill.
To keep, for example, Jeffrey Taylor just for defensive purposes, maybe you need more talent.
Yeah.
Again, the players they brought last summer, Yabusele, perfect signing. Adam Hanga, I'm not so sure about it. Thomas Hurtel, probably his days in Madrid are gone. But it all starts from a point guard. Real Madrid was always known when they had their best years for creators.
For guards, yeah.
They were now we're talking
Sergio
about
Rodriguez,
Efes playing
Doncic.
beautiful basketball, and for Madrid the way to win is to play ugly. 5 years ago,
that
it
was always out of conversation. Real Madrid was always
Real
19.
Madrid was the team you want to watch on the television. And Campazzo, Doncic, Sergio Llull before injuries. Come on, it was so beautiful to watch these guys. And they need something like this. They need some star power. But other than that, when you have Tavares, Yabusele, when you have Poire as a backup center, you're so strong. And you have Gabi Deck, you have all the other pieces. They don't need much. You can still have Llull and Rudy Fernandez for a last dance to say goodbye in a smaller role. Well, just like Felipe Reyes finished. Like in his last 2 seasons, he was more of a locker room guy.
Yeah, which is good. Good.
But then you need some more talent. And all those rumors were spread about Shane Larkin going to Madrid. Maybe it's not happening. Maybe Shane is staying. But you still need to look at some options. Lorenzo Brown, we're hearing that he's going to get a Spanish passport. I don't know why. But if he does, it's a no-brainer.
Last 2 topics.
I mean, Nigel Williams-Goss, we're not sure what's going to happen with him.
Yeah, it felt like he was about to leave, but now there are some reports that he might stay.
It's not a great season, but then he had a good series against Maccabi. You thought that in the Final Four he's going to be crucial. He got hurt. Very unlucky situation. He's under contract, right?
Yeah. No, he was signed for 1+1.
Okay.
So I think that Real Madrid might opt out.
We'll see what happens.
That was an idea.
Either way, you need some improvements in those positions because you have a Balde, but he's not a point guard.
Yeah.
So you have him as a defensive stopper, also a guy that can give you some points in open court and fast breaks. It's good. It's great. But when you put the ball in his hands to lead the way, it's kind of not what he's meant to do on this team. So we will see. But those clubs with big budgets, those are, like we say, first world problems. They're very easy to solve when you throw money at things. It's always about those small budget teams where you have to be creative and think out of the box. For these clubs, you saw that list on Twitter of players that are becoming free agents. Yeah. So we sort of opened that list and you're just thinking, should we go for the Colo or not? I mean, those are really, I would say, great problems to have. Yeah. Those are
and if you think that the Colo is not good enough for your team,
I mean,
that means that you're a good team.
Yeah, the Colo is not good enough. So I don't need him, man.
I don't like the Colo anymore. I don't know.
So yeah,
last two topics to cover shortly. We have two legends going away from EuroLeague basketball. First of all, probably the most iconic EuroLeague coach we know, Luigi Lamonica.
Coach?
Referee.
Which team did he coach?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Maybe you know something.
Nobody has paid me anything.
Fine.
Refs were never paid by anything.
Fine.
They didn't decide any games.
Fine.
Anyway, Luigi Lamonica. I mean, probably everybody in Kaunas, starting from kindergarten to, let's say, grandparents, know who Luigi Lamonica is, for better or worse.
Yeah. I mean, Luigi Lamonica was like Pierluigi Collina of basketball. Yeah. He just didn't have this bald head and that look.
But he was always he made basketball refereeing as some kind of ballet. I mean, he's dancing on the floor sometimes with his moves, with his body language, with his strict decisions.
You know, he's sort of a referee. You hate him or love him, and there's nothing in between because everybody knows him. There are players and coaches that, well, they could say not in front of a camera, but that they didn't like Luigi Lamonica. We saw
some tweets during the season.
Yeah, people were saying that he's maybe too arrogant. Maybe he just makes it about himself too often.
All Italians are arrogant, probably. So.
But at the same time, he was an iconic figure. I'm not sure if we're going to have a referee that famous in Europe right now.
It's tough to say.
It's tough to say. Yeah. So he's retiring, but again, he's retiring, and he should be proud of his career. What he achieved as a referee. He led the way, I believe, for many younger referees right now, and he was working in his last Final Four. You cannot have any complaints about the quality of refereeing in the semifinals or in the finals. Everything was really good, very professional, high level. So yeah, just respect to the man. I think he will find some place in the EuroLeague office, maybe, to continue working with the referees.
Yeah, that's a good point. I remember during the season, probably in October, usually October is ugly in Lithuania. It was rainy, cloudy day, and we were in BasketNews office in Kaunas, and I remember I just randomly looked over the window, and I saw Luigi Lamonica and Gytis Vilius just crossing by the street. And both of these guys now, they're on the final EuroLeague game, so that's amazing. By the way, there's one tradition of referees, and I thought that maybe there was something, how the referee should retire, let's say. Is he taking, he's not the player, he's not taking his jersey, the last game he played, or the ball, but from what I was told, that there's just a tradition for every EuroLeague Final Four referee that they're taking the ball of the tournament, not just from the final game. They're taking all the signatures from the other referees who were working in the Final Four and just bringing it home. So that's what Luigi Lamonica did. And what's cool that there will be one Lithuanian signature on it.
Nice. Yeah, Lamonica was refereeing in Lithuanian Cup. Yeah. Do you remember?
It was a huge scandal.
Lithuanian League decided to hire Gigi Lamonica to referee in the Lithuanian Cup. It will be
one of these stories like, Romaldas Brazauskas refereed for Michael Jordan. Yeah.
And he whistled a travel violation.
Oh my God.
For MJ. Come on. I think it's a really great comparison when you say that he's like Pierluigi Collina of basketball. Not as intimidating, maybe, but you always trusted him when you saw his name on the referees list. You're thinking, in this game, the referees will not lose the control.
And probably this is also
mistakes happen to everybody.
Yeah.
it's normal.
Yeah.
But it's how you deal with those mistakes, and you don't repeat those mistakes. You don't do favors to teams. And like what I hate most is when referees, when they realize they made a bad call,
And they
want to
to
give something then to the other team. And when you whistle an offensive foul and you realize it maybe was not a charge, so then on the other side of the court, you're looking for something like 3 seconds, maybe. I'm
and
counting.
You can even feel it.
I'm counting 1, 2,
watching the
3.
game.
Okay, so now I'm giving it back to the other team. This is what I hate, and I think the greatest referees avoid situations like that, which makes them respectable.
Yorgos Printezis, he's also retiring from the EuroLeague.
Yeah.
What kind of memories do you have? When you think about Printezis, what can you imagine in your head?
I have. Well, first of all, I think 3 memories that will always be stuck in my head.
Of course, that shot.
The first one was obvious, is the shot. The second one is a strange one.
Okay.
Seeing Yorgos Printezis, I was watching the game in Vilnius Siemens Arena in the front row, and Printezis was playing for
Unicaja.
Malaga.
Yeah.
It was so strange.
One of these random
He
things.
played for Malaga. What?
Like
what?
MJ playing for the Wizards.
Hakeem Elijah
Yeah.
won for Toronto
Yeah.
Raptors. He played for Malaga, so this is another memory I have in my head. And then the shot. I mean, these great players. You will always remember Navarro for being the first shooting guard to take these floaters, and you will always remember Printezis for taking shots that don't really make sense. Right-handed, left-handed, from his shoulder. How did he manage to make these shots so consistent? If you try it, even on amateur level, usually you're not even going to hit the rim. These are difficult shots, and that game winner from this angle, he just worked that shot to perfection. I will never forget this, and I'm not sure if there will be a power forward finishing like this in the paint.
And
If somebody tries it, they will look like clowns if somebody tries to mimic those shots. And for Printezis, it was a routine shot.
there was a funny story that I remember. I had an interview with Printezis. I think it was before 2007 and 17-18 playoff series, Žalgiris Olympiakos, and he said that actually he was coached by Jonas Kazlauskas in Olympiakos, and he said that actually Kazlauskas, said that he shouldn't continue making this shot, this crazy floater. And that's how Kazlauskas and CSKA, they were killed in that EuroLeague final.
Right, yeah.
What a turnaround.
I cannot even call it a floater. It's like a mix between a runner and a floater.
Yeah, something like that. It's just Printezis shots. Yeah, we have to call it Printezis shot.
Printezis shot, yeah. Wow.
And there was a very nice moment with Printezis during the third place game.
Yeah.
I mean, that because usually EuroLeague TV, when they do these pre-game, halftime interviews, post-game interviews, they take most efficient players or top scorers. Printezis, I think that he had like -2 performance index rating. He was scoreless in the first half. And Joe Orlauskas, he stopped him. And the best thing is that he kind of handled him the microphone and let him say something in English or Greek. He didn't care. And, Printezis just shared that love. So that was a beautiful moment.
And
really, that's the way you should say goodbye.
The last thing I will remember is Printezis putting his mouth guard.
Yeah. It's like Songaila chewing gum and Printezis and his mouth guard. Yeah.
Not so many players do that, especially in Europe.
But yeah, all respect to Printezis. Even Sharas told that probably if he would go to Oaxaca, he could just easily watch the game and nobody would pay attention because he was so respected. He didn't do anything, crazy. He didn't do anything to offend fans, whether you were Panathinaikos fans or Žalgiris fan.
I can share another memory actually.
Okay.
From 2017 EuroBasket. Lithuania won the group stage and we had to face Greece in the 8 finals. And Greece were struggling in the group stage, which is why they finished on the lower seed and we had to play them. And I saw their games. They were really struggling, even though they had a great team with Lukas, with Printezis, Borusis, I think he was still there. And before the game, I was talking to my colleague. We were kind of confident that Lithuania is playing good basketball. We can beat the Greeks. And I just said man, I have a really bad feeling about the matchup of Demo against Printezis, because Demo at that time was still playing the fourth position, the power forward position. I was thinking Printezis with his moves, his abilities to play in the perimeter,
stretch the floor, yeah.
He will give us a lot of problems. And it was really Printezis dominating that game and showing his greatness. That's another memory I have from the national team when he played for Greece. So yeah, Printezis, another EuroLeague legend, retiring.
Man, that's all, folks. EuroLeague season is over. Thank you, Rytis, for being here, because this podcast was on limbo almost because of your voice. But I kind of felt during the podcast, feeling that you got your voice through, let's say, and you got your usual
when I
rhythm.
started talking, it got better, but probably you don't realize from watching this, I have so much pain when I'm swallowing right now, and it is all because of the EuroLeague, the NBA playoffs I had at night, Boston, Miami, and yesterday, the craziest football day I ever had, finishing with the Premier League, and I again lost my voice. I don't know what's happening to me in these weeks, but I will have to see some doctors probably. It's a good thing that season is about to finish. I don't have so much left on my schedule, only the Liga Endesa playoffs and the NBA, but I'll try to fix that, because next week we're planning to drop a Q&A session.
We have something to say about our future podcasts, although the season is over. Our season is not. And exactly. The next pod, probably we will have it on Monday. We will have a Q&A session. And so you can actually already put us your questions in the comments section. And, actually we will have these domestic leagues finals. ABA League final will start soon. Then we will have dramatic, probably, of course, if Virtus and Milan will make it, it will be interesting to follow Italian Basketball League series. Rytis will be commentating ACB League finals as well. And probably we need your advice as well. If there are any finals you're most intrigued about, and if you would like to hear our opinion on, you would also help us, to kind of guide us through this final stage of the season.
Either way, we launched the Q&A on Twitter and everywhere.
Yeah, of course.
You can leave comments also on our YouTube video. We will read those, and if you have some questions, just feel free to ask, and we will try to just answer everything next week. And for now, really, thanks everybody for a great EuroLeague season. Thank you for always giving us your feedback. Thank you for all the nice comments we had. At the same time, all the observations. So sometimes we make mistakes, like when I said that Sasha Obradovic coached Kevin Punter. No, he didn't. He actually coached
who we are. I mean, we're just guys,
other Americans on Zvezda, but again, we sometimes make mistakes, and it's great that you pay attention to detail and always let us know. So
I was shocked in Serbia. If you remember, Lithuanians, we had some, let's say, concerns about going there, and we had an idea of trying to be under the spotlight. Behind the spotlight, and I remember it, but it was the first night in Belgrade. We just went out to have some dinner, and we saw ABA League semi-final game. It was Zvezda against Olympia. It was a crazy game, ending in an crazy overtime, and it just finished that we just went into bar and we wanted to watch the end of the game, because we were standing like behind the window watching that game, and the TV was in the bar. We were under the window, behind the window, and we were like, okay, let's go into the bar, just get some shots and just watch the game because it's great. And there was, people started gathering, watching that game, and there was, I would say, random Serbian guy coming. He asked something about the game in Serbian. We answered in English, and he asked where we are from, and we said in Lithuania, and he recognized me actually for the podcast we are doing. And during that week, I randomly hit, or I would say, fans from Greece, from Turkey, and from Serbia randomly hit me in the middle of the street.
like physically.
Yeah, like literally,
deserve it.
Like literally hit me, but then said that, "Oh, guys, you're doing a good podcast. Say hi to Rytis. It's amazing what you're doing." So I was really shocked, and thank you all for all this support. And as I said, all the bad words, all the mistakes we did. I mean, it's good. It's good for everybody. It's good for us.
It was a learning process for both of us because I mean, we were in the podcasting business for a while, but it was our first attempt to do it in English. And at first I wasn't really that confident. Is it going to work out? How it's going to sound? But in the end, I can say that even though our English is not perfect, I believe we're doing okay. And we can do better, of course, and we'll try.
Yeah,
we'll try.
The best thing and what I like the most is that we have this European basketball community, let's say, hearing to us. Even EuroLeague stuff, guys, commentators, behind the scenes crew, I mean, they said, oh, guys, you're doing great. So that's the most important thing, you know, just to connect this European basketball community. I hope that all these viewers, listeners, that community will just grow and gonna be bigger. So see you soon in the next Q&A episode.
Peace and love to everybody.